General Hospital spoilers for Thursday, June 5 tease that Anna is feeling a growing sense of anxiety as she begins to notice strange behavior in Brennan. Having worked in security for years, Anna has learned to trust her instincts, and this time, the unease she feels is impossible to ignore. This goes beyond mere suspicion. It seems Brennan is heading toward a dangerous crossroads that Anna can no longer control. His erratic decisions and reckless actions aren't just vague red flags, they might be leading everyone into an unpredictable and hazardous situation. Anna's concerns extend beyond Brennan himself. She's deeply worried about Carly, someone she knows will be seriously affected if this spiral continues. The threat and fear looming over Anna's mind grow clearer with each passing moment, pushing her to speak up. She realizes that if she doesn't act swiftly, Brennan's instability could bring disaster not only to Carly but also to the entire network of relationships Anna is trying to protect. With all her caution and determination, Anna knows she can't sit back and watch things fall apart. Brennan's behavior has become a real threat to Carly's safety, and Anna needs to find a way to stop it before it's too late. In her effort to uncover the truth, Anna shares her concerns with Jason. She knows that Jason, with his sharp instincts and experience handling complex situations, might be the key to finding critical clues to unravel what's really going on. They've faced danger together before, and Anna believes Jason may be the only one who can help her shed light on this mystery. Together, they begin to realize that Brennan isn't just a looming threat, he might be part of a much larger conspiracy that's only starting to surface. Anna and Jason must not only deal with the immediate danger but also confront the long-term risks that Brennan's actions could unleash. Anna's fears begin to solidify as she and Jason analyze Brennan's recent moves. His reckless choices and inexplicable behavior might all be pieces of a larger puzzle. Anna worries Brennan may be targeting Carly for deeply personal reasons he's been hiding. Both Anna and Jason sense that without immediate intervention, things could spiral into irreversible chaos. Carly may not just be a target, she could end up being the one who suffers the most if things aren't contained quickly. Determined to protect her, Anna and Jason devise a new plan to stop Brennan. They know that to deal with this threat, their response must be both swift and meticulously planned. Anna is aware that even a small mistake could unravel everything. But they have no choice, they must engage fully in this fight. Jason, with his calm demeanor and sharp analytical mind, begins laying out a strategic path to monitor Brennan's every move. Their goal is not just to protect Carly, but also to uncover Brennan's true motives. As the plan unfolds, Anna and Jason start to see cracks in Brennan's facade. Signs point to him preparing for a major move, one that could impact Carly in ways they haven't yet imagined. What troubles Anna the most is Brennan's ambiguity, the lack of transparency in how he's approaching everything. Could he really be manipulating everything from behind the scenes? Could he be about to make a move so reckless it plunges everyone into chaos? These questions grow more urgent by the minute. Anna and Jason continue to piece together every clue they've found, trying to link all of Brennan's actions into a coherent picture. They begin to suspect that Brennan is hiding a much bigger agenda, and if he's not stopped in time, it could lead to a catastrophe. They both know time is running out. This isn't just about stopping Brennan anymore, it's about protecting those they love, especially Carly, who could be a pawn in a game she doesn't even know she's part of. The stakes rise as Anna and Jason realize Brennan's plan may be just one piece of a deeper, darker scheme. They're no longer facing a simple threat, but a ruthless battle where every move must be carefully calculated. The ultimate question now is, can they stop Brennan before it's too late? Or will everything fall apart because of the dangerous path he's chosen? Sasha cannot shake the overwhelming anxiety when she receives news that she's being summoned to court as a witness. A sudden sense of dread washes over her, the secrets she's been hiding for so long are about to come to light. Her relationship with Michael, though not public, has been strong enough to make everyone involved feel threatened. Sasha can't stop thinking about the fallout this testimony might cause, not just for herself, but for everyone connected. She fears that her presence in court could upend her entire life, especially when it comes to Willow's custody over Wiley and Amelia. If the truth about her and Michael surfaces, it could become a powerful weapon in the custody battle. The situation worsens as Rick and Michael, two powerful men in her life, begin clashing over her secret affair with Michael. Sasha feels like a pawn caught between enemies she can't control. She knows that whether she wants to or not, these secrets won't stay buried forever, and everything she knows could come undone. Rick, always looking for a way to seize control from Michael, is now using Sasha's relationship with Michael as a tool to attack him, a way to regain the upper hand in their power struggle. Meanwhile, Michael recognizes that the affair could be a trump card, a weapon to turn the tables in the custody fight. Both men understand the magnitude of the secret. Exploiting Sasha's romantic involvement is no longer just about custody, it's about control over everything they each want. Sasha isn't just afraid of losing custody, she's terrified that her life will be torn apart once everything is exposed. She begins to feel trapped in a battle she can't escape. With every move from Rick and Michael making things worse. Rick continues to escalate the fight, using every opportunity to pressure Michael. While Sasha feels like she's caught in a whirlwind beyond her control. Every word from Rick, every move from Michael, deepens her unease. She feels like she's walking a tightrope, one misstep, and everything could come crashing down. If she can't stay silent, if she can't hide the truth about her relationship with Michael, the consequences could be explosive. As the conflict between Rick and Michael intensifies, Sasha realizes she's no longer the only one being dragged into the battle. But this isn't just about court or custody. Being called to testify forces Sasha to face deep personal issues. She fears not only the legal repercussions, but also the emotional cost of her past decisions. She begins to wonder if she can live with the consequences and whether she can protect her child without hurting the people she loves. The pressure comes not only from those around her but also from within. Her relationship with Michael is no longer just a romance, it's become part of a complex power play. Sasha knows every step she takes could affect her future, but she also understands that if she doesn't act, everything could be lost. She stands at a crossroads. Protect her rights and her child by staying silent and accepting the plans of those around her, or face the truth and accept whatever may come. The fight is no longer just about custody, it's about honor, dignity, and the relationships she's worked so hard to build. If the secret is revealed, it won't just threaten Willow's custody, it could shatter everything Sasha's tried to keep hidden. These secrets can no longer be buried. They are now the deciding factors in the power struggle Sasha is trapped in. She can't stop thinking about the fallout. And whether there's a way to shift the tide, or if everything is doomed to collapse. Sasha stands at a crossroads. And every decision she makes will not only determine the fate of her unborn child but also the survival of the relationships that matter most. Facing court as a witness in this custody case is not just a legal trial, it's a psychological one, forcing her to confront herself and the mistakes she's made. She fears that if she doesn't find the right path, the consequences will be catastrophic, and everything could crumble in an instant. Lucky stood face to face with a harsh reality. And his heart shattered as he realized that everything he once believed in, everything he once hoped for in his love with Liz, was now collapsing before his eyes. A deep sense of emptiness overwhelmed him as he acknowledged that their relationship, once beautiful and sweet, had reached a dead end. Everything he and Liz had built together now felt like a sandcastle, fragile, and easily swept away by the storms of life. The cracks in their relationship, once subtle and easy to ignore, had now become undeniable. Looking at Liz, Lucky no longer saw the warmth and affection he used to. The emotions they once shared had faded, replaced by doubt, disappointment, and unresolved issues. The love they had nurtured had turned into a burden, not because of a lack of passion, but because of misunderstandings, silence, and emotions left unspoken. The issues had built up over time. And neither Lucky nor Liz had truly confronted them. Now, they had erupted into problems beyond repair. The realization that this relationship might no longer be salvageable came as a shock to Lucky. A wave of loss, disillusionment, and helplessness swept through him. He had once dreamed of a future with Liz, but now he saw that those dreams were unlikely to come true. Yet, Amid the pain and heartbreak, something began to shift in Lucky's mind. He could no longer lie to himself or continue living in a relationship that no longer reflected who they were. He started to understand that instead of fighting the truth, instead of clinging to the past, he needed to change. He could no longer run from the pain, or stay in a relationship that both he and Liz were desperately holding onto without trust or hope. This change came from within. From a deep realization that this love, however beautiful it once was, no longer had the strength to hold him. Lucky knew that love alone is not always enough. Sometimes, letting go is the only way for both people to find freedom and happiness. Their story was no longer just about love, it had become about wounds that could no longer be healed. Although accepting the failure of this relationship was painful and difficult, Lucky recognized that it was necessary for him to move forward. He couldn't remain stuck in the wounds of the past, never allowing them to heal. It was time to change. Time to accept the truth, that sometimes, love can't save everything, and sometimes, the best thing we can do is give each other space to heal and rediscover ourselves. In that painful moment, Lucky looked back on his relationship with Liz not just as a failure, but as a lesson, about himself and about love. He realized that his own mistakes, the unspoken words, and the impulsive decisions had all played a part in the breakdown of their relationship. However, instead of blaming one another, he knew he had to learn how to forgive, not just Liz, but also himself. These mistakes couldn't be undone, but they were valuable lessons that would help him grow. Looking at Liz, Lucky understood that the time had come for both of them to face the truth. Their love was no longer what it once was. He knew that no matter how hard they tried to hold on, they couldn't go back to the happy days they had shared. Each had their own path to walk now, and staying together in this state would only bring more pain. A profound change had occurred in Lucky's heart. Instead of living in the past and in loss, he chose to open himself to change. This was a necessary step for him to continue growing and moving forward. His relationship with Liz was no longer just a love story. It had become part of a journey toward freedom, healing, and maturity. Even if they had to go their separate ways in the end. Lucky knew what mattered most was that they both continued living and finding happiness in their own ways, even if that meant letting go of each other. This change was not just an ending, it was a new beginning. A path filled with challenges, but also full of hope for the future. Willow stood at a crossroads, caught in a haze of uncertainty and tension. She was not only facing critical decisions in her custody battle, but also grappling with herself, with the fears and anxieties that had grown louder in her mind. The fear and insecurity made each step feel heavier and more difficult. She couldn't ignore the overwhelming pressure that surrounded every decision she had to make, knowing that each one could alter the course of her life and her fight with Michael and those around her. Her relationship with Michael, though once filled with hope, had now become a fierce struggle, not only over rights but over control of her life and the unborn child she carried. From the moment she realized her rights were at risk, Willow knew she had to act. But faced with a situation beyond her control, all her previous strategies now seemed futile. Willow's world had shifted, from uncovering dark secrets to confronting decisions she could no longer delay, and it all felt like an uncontrollable storm. The fear of losing custody had become an ever-present nightmare, pushing her to calculate every move with tense precision. She felt the weight of needing to protect not only herself, but also the future of her child. She understood that if she didn't win back custody, if she couldn't uphold the legal rights she deserved, her life would fall into lasting turmoil. She had to find a way to face every threat from Michael, and the sudden changes in family dynamics she could never have foreseen. Every decision now affected not just her, but the child she loved so deeply. And it was becoming clear that not everyone around her had her best interests at heart. The complicated relationship with Michael, and the schemes coming from his side, made Willow feel like she was in an incredibly vulnerable position. She wasn't just fighting Michael's interference. She was also confronting a shift in how she saw herself and those she once trusted and loved. The haunting fear of losing custody was beginning to suffocate her peace. So, Willow made the decision to adjust her strategy. She could no longer let things unfold the way Michael wanted. She had to rise and prove that she deserved her legal rights, that she had the right to protect her child. But it wouldn't be easy. Every time she faced the harsh truth, that she was being manipulated, that her rights were under threat, she felt like she was being pushed into an impossible corner. The helplessness of being unable to control everything pulled her into a vortex where every wrong move could cost her everything. The obsession with protecting her child wasn't just about custody. It was about identity, about pushing past her own limits. Willow knew she couldn't live in fear and anxiety any longer. The threats were growing every day. And she understood that if she didn't act now, she might lose everything. But with every step, she had to confront her worst fears. She was terrified that she wouldn't be able to protect her child in a world filled with manipulation and power plays. The question haunted her more each day: am I strong enough to protect my child? Or am I just a piece in a game I can't control? These fears consumed her. She couldn't imagine remaining trapped in a battle she might never win, yet she also couldn't bear the thought of losing her rights or her daughter. Every decision, every next step in this war would shape her and her child's future. At the same time, Willow couldn't help but worry about the impact her fight for custody might have on those she loved. Her actions wouldn't only affect her, but also those around her, like Carly, people she had once trusted and cared for deeply. She was fully aware that this battle wasn't just between her and Michael, but part of a larger fight involving family, love, and sacrifice. She felt she had to fight not only for her child but for these relationships, for the fragile bonds that could change in an instant. The stress, anxiety, and helplessness never seemed to stop. The battle for rights, for love, and for her family's very survival was pushing Willow to her emotional limits. But she knew there was no other choice. She had to keep fighting. For her future. For her child. Each day was a major challenge, but also a step toward reclaiming control. And even though the path ahead was full of terrifying uncertainties, Willow couldn't stop. She had to go on, no matter how hard the road might be. When Curtis and Porsche decided to host a family gathering, they hoped it would be a chance to resolve the tensions in their relationship, an opportunity to rediscover harmony and stability after all the crises they had been through. However, what was supposed to be a moment of reconnection quickly turned into a troubling event. Their relationship was no longer what it once was. And the gathering only highlighted the painful truth that their love was slowly falling apart. Though both still had deep feelings for each other. Unresolved conflicts and growing misunderstandings were becoming more obvious and harder to ignore. Both Curtis and Porsche felt as though their relationship was on the edge of a cliff, where even the smallest misstep could lead to its collapse. In the past, they had faced many challenges together. But now they were coming to the realization that they were no longer walking the same path. Unspoken emotions, unhealed wounds, and irreconcilable differences were slowly building an invisible wall between them. They were both trying to hold on to a relationship that once brimmed with hope. But their dreams of a happy future were starting to fade into distant memories. Curtis felt a deep sorrow when he realized the love he once believed in had run dry. Meanwhile, Porsche felt torn between two painful choices: to keep holding on to something broken or to face the truth and let it go, accepting that their love had come to an end. The family gathering, instead of being a healing moment, only made things worse. Both Curtis and Porsche couldn't avoid the fatigue and disappointment that came from facing the undeniable reality of their deteriorating relationship. The tension in the air only drove them further apart, as misunderstandings and distrust deepened the already fragile bond between them. Contrary to their intentions, the gathering did nothing to ease the strain. It only exposed the unresolved issues more clearly and pushed their relationship into a state of crisis. Negative emotions began to grow stronger within both Curtis and Porsche, becoming increasingly visible in their actions. The days once filled with love were now overshadowed by disagreements and emotional strain. They both had to face the painful truth: love isn't always enough to save a relationship. No matter how hard they tried, things were no longer the same. The more they attempted to fix things, the more tangled and hopeless it all seemed. Meanwhile, Their relationship troubles were not only affecting them, they were having a profound impact on those around them, especially Trina. As their daughter, she was caught in the middle of the tension between the two people she loved most, now facing an incredibly difficult situation. She wasn't just witnessing the breakdown of her parents' relationship, she was also dealing with the feeling of loss, realizing that things could never go back to the way they once were. The changes in the family were creating a deep internal crisis for her, as the instability between Curtis and Porsche put her in a precarious position. Everything she had known and believed about her family was now being challenged. Trina began to feel as though she was being dragged into a situation far beyond her control. She loved both her mother and father, and watching them on the brink of separation left her confused and afraid. Not only was she wrestling with her own emotions, but she also began to understand that her parents' decisions were causing unexpected and dangerous consequences for her. The conflict between her mother and father was starting to spiral into something much bigger, consequences that Trina couldn't predict or avoid. She felt like someone caught between two opposing forces, with no clear way to shield herself from the collapse that seemed imminent. The relationship between Curtis and Porsche was no longer just about two people in love. It had become a crucial part of Trina's life, a dynamic that now placed her in danger in ways she couldn't escape. The ongoing tension and conflict between her parents pushed her into a state of chaos and helplessness, forcing her to confront painful truths about her family. Trina began to see that she was not just a bystander, she was directly affected by their choices. This left her feeling like a pawn in a game where she had no control. The story of Curtis and Porsche's love was no longer just about them, it had become a story about their family, about Trina, and about the decisions that could alter all their lives forever. The changes in Curtis and Porsche's relationship were no longer private struggles. They had the potential to unleash unforeseen devastation on Trina. All she could do now was watch as her family fell apart, and her fear for the future had never felt more real.